You're listening to Toronto's #1 real estate podcast, powered by Watson Estates. The most successful local real estate investing starts right here, right now. Here's your host, broker, investor, and social media influencer, Bradley Watson.
Good morning, investors. Bradley here from Watson Estates. It's Saturday, July 25th, 2020. But realtors, they don't sleep on weekends. And today I'm going to fill you guys in on some of the latest news as it relates to Toronto real estate. We are #1 in iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts for that subject. And we're having a lot of fun here as an investor and a broker myself, dealing with clients that have various investment properties across the GTA. I want to be diving into the market every day, and I thought, hey, why not share what I'm finding with you guys on this platform? And it's been a great journey. We've been doing it for a few months now. Our audience is growing. The other day, we hit the #1 downloads we've had in a single day, and we're having a lot of fun. A lot of people I noticed on YouTube are starting to wind down their COVID updates on their channels, but I don't know why, because there's still so many opportunities in our market. And today we're going to share a few. #1, what are landlords offering to scoop up new tenants? They're becoming more and more creative as they try and survive in a climate where it's next to impossible to find someone good to stay in your unit. And then we're going to transition into an article from RE/MAX. Even RE/MAX is saying, is Toronto real estate in store for our condo buyers market? So we're going to talk a little bit about what they have to say, as we've been saying and talking about this for a little while, kind of adding their 2 cents. And what are the cheapest places in the GTA to buy a house this year? Maybe you're looking for something a little bit more affordable. You're saying this is outrageous, and you're getting caught up in all the craziness. So we're going to talk about the different things about tenants, how to fill that rental space. But then we're going to get a little bit into psychology. When I was younger, my parents sent me to a child psychologist. Man, that kid didn't help at all. I showed up wearing shrink wrap once, because that's what you wear, right? He's like, well, I can clearly see your nuts. We're having a lot of fun. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to continue to put out fantastic content. And oftentimes people are saying, hey, why are you so happy all the time? How can you not be? What a beautiful country to live in. And yes, we've got COVID, but if you track every single year, we've had something crazy. So we're having a lot of fun here, and I'm enjoying myself. So only good vibes. So let's start talking about rentals. We talked about not pre-construction. Whoa. We were talking about how purpose-built rental apartments, they've noticed their rents have gone back up and quite quickly, whereas the little condo guys, they're kind of getting stuck. And one of the big reasons I think for that is that they've added incentives to these purpose-built rentals. That's not everything. I think the biggest reason isn't even that. I don't think it's the incentive. I think the fact that they're not going to just kick you out tomorrow because they want to sell. I think that's the bigger reason. But what's happening now is we're noticing, it's the first article I'm seeing of people offering additional incentives. Just yesterday I was talking about how Kijiji now has this thing where they'll allow you to do like repayment plans later, and there's different other things. But there's this list that I caught from Toronto Stories I thought was quite good, and there's some very big incentives that some people are doing, which just shows how desperate landlords are to try and fill those spaces. Here's the article. In case you haven't been paying attention, among the significant repercussions COVID-19 has wrought in the softening of the Toronto real estate market, for the first time in years, average rents have consistently fallen over the last 5 months, with an average one-bedroom dropping. If you guys were to guess from the beginning of the year, how much do you think one bedroom has dropped? I've been tracking this, and I'm still floored by this number. But I don't want to say floor because I don't want to pay per square foot. But average one bedroom has dropped approximately $250. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that you've just lost per month for the rental of that one bedroom apartment. Is it any mystery while some of them that has recently been purchased are now worried and thinking, you know what, maybe I should sell this thing? My goodness. So they kind of recap what we talked about yesterday. Some of the reasons, of course, is the supply of rental units is just going through the roof, as more than we've seen in the years past, as well as is matched by a drop in demand, right? Things like immigration, foreign students, out of province workers, they're all frozen. And we've got a large number of condo units formerly listed on Airbnb that are now switching into the long-term market. And as we're now noticing on the purchasing side, they're switching over to selling because they can't find stability in that long-term side. There is no promised land there. This is in addition to construction, which continues to build buildings. Like all matters of the economy, supply and demand play the largest role. Simply put, Toronto currently has more rental units available than it has renters who need them. A situation that historically low vacancy city has not had to deal with in decades. Listen to this. Q2, we had 0.3% vacancy rate. That's absurd. That's almost none. And now we've reached, Q2 is what we've reached. 2 years ago was 0.3. Now Q2, 1.8%. Still quite low. Still low, but several fold it has doubled in what's available. In response to this reality, dozens of rental apartments throughout the city are now offering discounts and incentives for those willing to move in. Just come over here. Come here, puppy. Come. Right? Examples of these incentives, courtesy of rentals.ca, include, this list is crazy. Listen to this. No last month's rent necessary up front, Plus, I'm going to give you $250 as a move-in bonus. That's one of the incentives. Here's another one. 1.5 months free and move-in bonus of $500. Oh my goodness. $500 move-in bonus if you rent by July 31st. Or someone else, $350 move-in credit when you sign your lease within 24 hours. First month's rent free, 1 month free and move-in bonus of $500. 6 months of free parking. You can have my wife too. Like, they're just giving it away because they need people. They need good people, and they don't want to be caught when there's terrible tenants running around because they've all been evicted. 150,000 approximately across Ontario. No, thank you. I'll keep it vacant. And these incentives aren't limited to a few buildings. They're all across Toronto, right? From downtown to midtown, North York to East York, Scarborough, and all the way across to Etobicoke. Each area has multiple buildings offering incentives for you to sign up to spend the next 12 months there. And who knows where rent will be on the tail of 12 months. I think it'll come back up. But for right now, this is a beautiful time for tenants. So while the resale market currently doesn't seem to be offering anyone a, quote, COVID discount, not true, but it's coming, the rental market is currently trying its best to woo you. And in a city known for high rents and low vacancy rates, we suggest you take the bait while you can. It likely won't last long. And I said that yesterday. I agree. Investors run in, it's funny, when times are good and expensive, but they also run away when it's more affordable. So you'd think when there's a buying opportunity, people would be flocking. It's like, oh, everyone's running away. $250 loss in income. These guys are desperate. They're just trying to dump this stuff, right? That's the time to get in. That's the time to scoop stuff up. But is that how it works? Do people go against the grain to win? And the answer is no, according to the Bank of Canada. I was just looking at, they have this financial system review of 2019, and it tracks what the difference was between 2015 and 2016. Remember, pre-foreign buyer tax, and what it looked like in 2019. Obviously, post foreign buyer tax. And during that time, we saw tremendous cycles of people being obnoxious about the market. And it was raging hot in 2017, or at least it turned in 2017, the beginning. And then after that, we got a lot more discomfort and fear in the market. Where would be the time to buy? Just think about it before we get into the stats. What would be that moment to buy? Would it not be post 2017 fall down of the prices? Would it not be? And so you'd think if we were investors, we should be smarter than the average person. That's our chance to get in. You wouldn't be selling in 2017, would you? Well, let's listen. Rising expectations of house price growth may have increased investor activity and accelerated purchases by consumers with, quote, fear of missing out. Housing resale activity in Toronto in 2015 and 2016 was much stronger than could be explained by economic fundamentals. And you guys remember that. Multiple offers all over the place. You would even put your grandma's property on the market and you'd go into it because all of a sudden you think, you know what, it's a good offer, and you go multiple offers on your own family's property. Nobody would do that, but you get the idea. The unexplained strength is, however, highly correlated with expectations of house price growth as measured by Bank of Canada's survey of consumer expectations. I love this because they're saying, when are investors buying? Like, are they buying when there's a fear of missing out? And that's, of course, we're going to find here. Expectations for growth in house prices shifted down beginning in early 2017 due to the housing policy changes, right, including a 15% non-resident purchase tax. Resale activity in Toronto fell a cumulative 38% for the following 3 months, despite non-residents accounting for less than 10% of the purchase. Psychology. That's psychology, guys. That was all 2017 was all psychology. We also had higher interest rates, right, which didn't last long, and we saw changes to mortgage underwriting guidelines, which weighed on prices expectations and resale. Remember the CMHC stress test? That's actually probably my single biggest video on YouTube explaining how that worked. People were so curious. What does this look like? It's going to affect my affordability. So listen to these. The period of strong resales in Ontario coincides with an increase in investor activity. That's back pre-2017. So while times are going great, investors are all in. Data compiled by Realosophy Inc. on the share of investor purchases in the GTA shows in 2016, investors accounted for as much as 1 in 5 resales in current neighborhoods and about 1 in 10 resales across the GTA. But by 2018, price expectations dropped, investors' activity fell significantly, and the share of resale roughly halved. And they have a pretty little drawing here, which I can't show you with my mouth. And ultimately, it's saying post foreign buyer tax, post 2017, the number of investors buying into the market went down tremendous. Now, nobody wants, I love this analogy of don't catch a falling knife. I get it. But when there's a buying opportunity, you want to be flocking in when everyone's running the other direction. And it likens to the period we're in right now, specifically in the condo market. When people run away, they run away together, and therein lies the opportunity if you've got your finger on the pulse. Okay, so let's get into condos. Okay, we're going to talk about the condo buyer's market. With that in mind, talking about psychology, woohoo! If you're looking to get into the Toronto condo market this fall, could be an opportune time. This is what's silly. This is RE/MAX. When the stats first came out, talking about all the different housing segments, everyone ignored condos. Nobody was talking about it. And now, even RE/MAX is doing it. Even RE/MAX is mentioning the condo market. RE/MAX, the one that's to the fault optimistic. Oh, that reminds me. I took a leak next to a psychologist once, and I didn't hear a thing. His pee was silent. Everybody was quiet. But now even RE/MAX is yelling, there might be an opportunity in condos. I love how they pop up when it's like, yeah, now's the time to buy condos. Woohoo. Now their angle is wrong, in my opinion. But it's interesting that now everyone has picked up to the fact that condos are lagging. So they say condo experienced less pronounced price growth, hinting at a possible buyer's market in store for the Toronto condominium sector. I think we have some time to go on the buyer's market thing, but I think it makes good headlines, okay? The idea that we're going to have more than 6 months of inventory on condos, that's an interesting thing if you're an investor. If we do hit that point, even if we don't, it's headed in that direction. When we look at the stats, just as a refresh, detached homes were increased by 14.3%, semi-detached were up 22%. Meanwhile, the average price of condos in Toronto rose by 5.6%, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize that they were up by double digits earlier in the year. And this was the impact that we had because of COVID in this segment. For those who have been waiting for the right time to get into Toronto's pricey property markets, this could be it. There's RE/MAX. Bye. Yeah. Remember, when times are good, everyone buys in, right? So maybe if we can find a time when it's lagging, if there was an opportunity to see a time where something is lagging in our market, where would it be? Would it not be in the city? Would it not be in the condo market? So according to the executive vice president and regional director of RE/MAX, they were being interviewed on breakfast television. Usually I don't get time to watch breakfast television because I'm usually doing my podcast. have me some kids and become a mom and sit and watch breakfast television. So here's what he said. I love the quote. It kind of refreshes everyone as well. Toronto condo market has largely been driven by supply and demand from immigration. The GTA was attracting about 100,000 new residents every single year. With border closures between provinces and countries, it's been difficult for people to come into the area. Plus, the short-term rental market was severely impacted as well. So there's a lot more inventory for buyers to choose from. But it's true. Buyers are coming from all different areas, right? Buyers are not coming from all different areas. And so this actually has left a lot of people scrambling to try and dump their properties. We're just teetering on a balanced market for condos right now. This is why I say we're not really in the buyer's market side. We're just getting into balanced territory, and it could possibly end up being a buyer's market come the fall. If you're looking to get into the condo market, now could be the right time as prices are moving in the opposite direction in the detached segment. I don't see the connection there. You missed it. Because I agree. the fall, I guess the fall or late fall or winter at least, you will more than likely than not have not necessarily a buyer's market, maybe. That would be good. But even if we have a extremely balanced market where prices have come down and softened a little bit, why would you say it's softening and prices are coming down buy now? Like, why is that? It's like, that's the wrong pitch. No, the better approach is you have to have your finger on the trigger. You're ready to go. Okay, you're ready to buy that property. You've got your money set up. You're just waiting for that opportunity. And you wait until the months of inventory get to a point where it's like, okay, we have reached a ground zero. Not that prices are coming back up, but that we've clearly established that now there's a level of stability before everyone else swarms in. And you got to be able to time that. So like I said before, don't catch a dropping knife. But the moment the downward pressure on prices, I realize I'd want to be in a position to buy quick. Don't buy it now because prices are coming down. I mean, seasonally, you're going to have price discounts anyways. So give it a couple months. Don't feel like you need to buy in the, as they call it, the fall, right? In August, September. But just keep your eye on it, because you're looking to get yourself a bit of a deal, but don't sit on it too long, because who knows if we get a quick rebound like we've seen. I don't think it'll come as fast, but we will see a rebound. A new RE/MAX report reveals that the first 6 months of 2020, detached homes increased 95% of markets across the GTA, but in the 416, double-digit growth was reported in only 60% of districts. Still good, but obviously we've got other markets across the GTA doing better, unlike kind of the 905. And a Ledger survey conducted in May on behalf of RE/MAX revealed that Canadians have positive sentiments around buying and selling. Again, back to psychology. What is the perception of our market? 56% of Canadians who are planning to engage in the real estate market saying they expect to do so in less than a year. Furthermore, actually, the numbers that I've seen has been 9 to 9.5 months is kind of the range, which puts us around spring next year. So between now and the spring, that's your time, guys. Furthermore, 44% of Canadians say they believe the real estate market will bounce back to its pre-pandemic strength by 2021. I tend to agree. And 29, in fact, I think we're already there. It's a matter of how long we lag further. The 29% believe that this will happen sooner, before the end of 2020. Oh, did I not just say that? It's all about psychology, guys. It's all about psychology, and the psychological impact of COVID is failing. Does the name Pavlov ring a bell? Imagine if Pavlov's dog was like, you see that? Talking to his like girlfriend. Every time I salivate, Pavlov smiles and he scribbles something in his notebook. Silly. But it's crazy to see the psychological impact waving here. Now, I got a comment from Baseline on YouTube. If I was a serious buyer of property that had an open house, I would attend. I wouldn't care about COVID. Like the many grocery stores, people go there for just $20 and groceries and come back to do the next day. They don't care, right? So people, this all has to do with the opening up, the wavering impact of COVID. People are more comfortable going and looking at homes now. Whether it's an open house, it doesn't have to be an open house. It can be a private showing as well. So the article continues here. Indeed, June saw these sentiments materialize with heated home buying activity in Toronto falling just short of 2019 levels, with unit sales down just 1.4%, which is crazy considering we were like 60, 70% down before, with active listings down almost 30% from a year ago. So not only were we back to the number of sales, but we actually have 30% less listings, which is crazy. And that shows you that the months of inventory has gone down. And if that has happened during COVID, God help us on the tail end of COVID. There's no question that lack of inventory hampered sales in June and will continue to do so, especially in the 416. If you want to fix it, if government wants to control the rapid increase in price, more supply needs to come on stream. There you go. There's our issue, guys. It's not price, it's affordability. It's supply in our market. That is the ongoing issue, needs to be addressed. And if you overshadow it with more buyer incentives, dropping interest rates and first-time home buyer rebates and being able to use more RSPs, yes, you can bring on more supply, but you have just stimulated demand beyond the supply you've created and caused more of a problem. And you think 30% drop in listings is an issue from last year. Wait until we get back to 2015, 2016 era, My goodness. Okay. But not everybody wants to get in that rat race. There are some of you out there and you're like, I want a place that's a little more affordable. I want to buy in a cheaper area of the GTA. Well, thank you, Narcity, for your article. These are the cheapest places in the GTA to buy a house this year. And then listen to this subheading. You can get a home for under $600,000. I find that really funny because is $600,000 cheap? Is it really? I mean, our perspective of cheap is just is broken. All right. Just because you live in the GTA doesn't mean you need to rent forever. In a new report, it was announced that while housing prices are on the rise, there are still some cheap neighborhoods to buy from. In fact, some Toronto house prices can be nearly as low as $550,000 because that's cheap. They talk about what the kind of the Remax thing we were talking about here, but then they get into these cheap houses. So if you don't have millions to spend on a new house, you don't need to move out of the GTA. So here's some of the areas that they suggest. If you are looking to move into the cheapest area in the GTA, you might want to look at Brock in Durham region. Okay, in order to score your own home in that township, the average price is $552,000. Oshawa in Durham region is also rather cheap, and if you live there, you're looking for a detached house, the average price is $611,000. But if Durham region isn't for you, the next option they say here is Simcoe County. Quite affordable. You can actually get decent cash flow properties out there. My mom's a broker. I trained her out that way, and she is getting quite good cash flow. And we're actually considering maybe partnering together, analyzing some properties to bring to our investor clients as well. We'll keep you in the loop as that happens. Or we can look at ESSA, Innisfil, right, for under $627,000. New Tecumseth. That's like, that would really suck if you had a lisp and lived in New Tecumseth. Okay, anyways. It's slightly higher than the average price of $695,000. Now, is that cheap? Relatively. Not really. However, if you want to live in the downtown core, things get more expensive. Obviously, in the 416, the cheapest area right now is W10, which borders on Steeles Avenue West and Highway 401. And the cheapest average price in that area is $814,000. Not cheap, but cheaper. If you're looking for something even cheaper and aren't afraid to move, there are a variety of homes for sale in Ontario for under $100,000. So if I were to put that differently, if you want to live for under $100,000, go away. It's not happening here, okay? Buy a boat. Just park it in the winter. That would be an interesting lifestyle. And so I just want to add a couple other thoughts before we wrap up here on affordable living, as we're kind of on that topic. I saw from Imp Solutions, there was kind of a reference that came out of the summit that was from Move Smartly, and I thought this was an interesting point that kind of came from that week. Mortgage lenders were including COVID risk premiums, and you guys might have heard about this, as high as 2%, but they're now falling. And so if you're looking for a 5-year fixed mortgage based on a 5-year GOC bond yield, it is at the low 2%, and variables are also at low 2%. Historically, variables are significantly cheaper than fixed. Right now, they're getting to a point where not so much, but they're saying that both will land somewhere in the mid to high 1%. So rates will continue to come down, even if interest rates don't. Interesting thoughts. And I also had a comment from Nab. Thank you, Nab. Great interview and guest. We're talking about the Richard Robbins podcast. Go back and listen to it if you missed. Lots of insights and hit on every very important points. But then he mentions these two, which I thought were great, and I wanted to mention them as well. I would like to add 2 ingredients to the mix: inflation and the possibility of universal basic income, both of which are being mentioned more often in the media and could affect the real estate market. Here are my thoughts on these 2 things, okay? If cheap is what we're going for, if we want more affordability, then more government through universal basic income or devaluing our dollar and killing the money we have through inflation, that is not the way to go. Those things are actually going to stimulate. Inflation is good for increasing real estate prices. It's great if you got a mortgage and you don't want to pay the same caliber of the debt because it slowly eats it away. And universal basic income, do we really have the budget for that? We've just kind of gone through a test run, and if you want to get into the several trillion dollars of debt, then let's do it. But I don't think that's the right call. I don't think those things are options, but I think people are getting rather comfortable on their CERB to the point where they don't want to go back to work. And if there's free money, why do I want to produce anything? If we want to be a country that's successful, we need to be a country that produces goods and services, not one that consumes goods and services on credit, i.e. the United States. We have to be a country that uses the resources we have, people, natural resources, all of it. You know, sometimes I feel a little wacky in the head. I'm sorry. You got to give me a thumbs up, guys. Put it down in the chat. Leave us a comment. Leave us some feedback. You got to boost my ego sometimes. Nobody understands me. Go to my psychologist. Doctor, I feel as though nobody understands me. And he's like, what do you mean by that? We're having fun. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to take the day off tomorrow to spend it with friends and family. More so family, because I'm not allowed to spend much time with friends. I guess we can now. Doors are open, but trying to keep our distance as we got a rather newborn baby coming on 2 months very soon. And I'll see you guys bright and early on Monday. Take care and keep it real.